My name is Michelle Stilley, and I compiled the stories of Pinellas County parents to show our elected officials and our community some of the challenges that children are experiencing wearing masks for 5, 6, 7, or more hours every day. I'm the parent of 6 children in Pinellas County, but I will share my personal story at the end of this video. I'm a stranger to most people who will view this video, so I will share a little about my background. I began working with children when I was 16 years old as a camp counselor. This was not just a job for me, but this was my passion. When I was 19 years old, I founded a tutoring program that grew into a school in a high poverty area. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm a board certified lactation consultant. I love math, and I love to help moms breastfeed their babies. I am a Florida certified teacher in mathematics, grades 5 to 9, mathematics, grades 6 to 12, science, grades 5 to 9, and exceptional student education, grades K to 12. I have worked with children in various settings over the past 20 years. I'm one of the leaders of a local group called Parent Advocates for Student Health Freedom. I wanted to put together these stories from Pinellas County parents, interspersed with a bit of data, to urge the Pinellas County School Board to unmask our children. Pinellas County children are being masked without the consent of their parents, and it is hurting them. Please listen to their stories and consider the impact of your decisions on the next generation.
Hello, my name is Kristen, and I'm actually a lifelong Pinellas County resident. I was born here. I went to public school in Pinellas County, and I have 4 children whom I planned on putting through Pinellas County Public School as well. My 2 older children, I've pulled out of high school to do my PCS online because I do not want them wearing masks all day. I have yet to see any scientific evidence showing that it's safe for children to wear masks for 6, 7 plus hours a day. And I'm frankly disappointed that the county has made decisions based on fear and emotion instead of science and actual data. I have 2 younger children that will no longer be attending public school in Pinellas County because I'm just very disappointed with the fear and the lack of scientific evidence. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Davis, and I'm a mom to 3 elementary school age kids. And I just wanted to do this video to kind of share our events of school for the last couple weeks, obviously. My kids, all 3 are in elementary school wearing masks full time. And they are supposed to be getting breaks. I guess to the school's idea of breaks is they get one time throughout the entire day to take their mask off for about 5 to 10 minutes. And they do get to take their mask off while they eat and once they are doing PE separated from the rest of the kids. Thankfully, their school is pretty good about taking it off during PE, but I know there are some that are not so good. But for my children, they've had, each one of them has complained of feeling sick or getting lightheaded or having episodes where they've actually, 2 of them threw up at school from getting overheated from the mask. And they are not allowed to even take it down at all unless they are given that one break. So for me, I really don't think that these masks are healthy. My kids are only 10, 7, and 5. My 5-year-old will literally chew on his mask all day long. It comes home and it's sopping wet and all chewed up into a little ball in certain spots of the mask. And I tell him every day to stop chewing on it, and he just continues every day. He's not old enough to understand why he can't chew on it or what the symptoms are that he needs to take it off to breathe. So I just don't understand at that age. I don't understand how they can find masking our children to be acceptable. My nephew is in middle school in 8th grade, and he actually is being forced to run on a basketball court with his mask on, not being allowed to take the mask off to run. And the school is actually lying and saying that they're allowed to, but he actually took his phone and recorded it, proving that they are not allowing them to take their masks off. But there's no way he can show anyone because he'll be reprimanded for having his phone out. It's unacceptable. Remove the mask mandate for our children. There's no reason, and it is unhealthy. Thank you.
Historically, people need to realize that even if there is some asymptomatic transmission, in all the history of respiratory-borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
Hi, my name is Fair Montecalvo. I am the mother of 6, my youngest being a 5-month-old who is sitting right next to me. So hopefully I can get through this video without interruption. I have 3 school-age children at the moment, all of whom were in Pinellas County schools. I decided this year to pull them completely. I sent in a letter of intent to the school board to homeschool my children. The reason being is because I do not agree with mask mandates on children. I don't agree with mask mandates on anyone. I don't agree with mandating medical devices on anyone. But most importantly, I did not want my children wearing them all day long. There has been much research done saying that children are not susceptible to the virus. And while I understand that teachers and administration and staff are important as well, I don't feel that our children should be pawns in this whatever's going on, be it the virus, be it a political game. I don't feel that my children should have to sit in a mask for 8 hours a day when they're not susceptible to this virus. If teachers are concerned for their well-being, I think they should teach online or choose another career or retire if they're of age. I just don't feel that it's my kids who should be the ones to sacrifice. And so I chose to pull all 3 of my Pinellas County students out of the school district completely. We are homeschooling. It is actually going very well, but 2 of my high schoolers have expressed their desire to go back to school, but they will absolutely by no means go back to school until this mask mandate is lifted. So that's my personal choice, and I believe that my children's health is my responsibility and no one else's. So thanks for listening.
Hello, I am a parent of a kindergarten student in the Pinellas County school system, and I am here to voice my concerns about mask wearing in the schools as well as everywhere else, for the children especially. For one, the mask is, inhibiting their ability to see their friends' facial expressions, their teachers. Nobody wants to wear a face covering over their face. It's stuffy. They are unable to hear well or voice their little voices if there's a mask over their face. And not only that, it kind of hides their identity. And that's a whole nother topic, but that's a concern. Also, the number one concern is there's no evidence that shows the masks do anything to prevent the spread of coronavirus or any other virus. All the statistics that are out there show a 0.0003 something chance that a child will contract coronavirus. So that's insignificant. It's been proven and shown across the world that children do not get this virus. And the few that had other issues. Also, children, you know, they get things. They have the immune system to support that, and as well as other people in society, adults too. If you just keep yourself healthy, your body has the ability to be able to handle it, especially children. And the fact that there have been colds going around and kids have gotten the common cold while wearing masks. So let me ask you how a mask is going to prevent coronavirus when it can't prevent the common cold. It's not. So let's unmask these kids and let's get them back to normal life. This is not normal. This is not a new normal. This is crazy. That's all I wanted to say. Have a great day. Hey, it's me again. I just wanted to make another video because this morning when I was dropping my son off at school, he was very upset and almost crying that he did not want to wear his mask, and he doesn't like to wear the mask because at his other school where he went for camp, he didn't have to wear a mask. And this is another important point, that my kids have been in another camp all summer and even at the end of the school year last year, and there were no masks on any of the children. My daughter still goes to that school. She's 2, and everybody's perfectly fine. The teachers, yes, the staff wears masks. None of the children have to, and there has been not one issue. So if it's good in that school, why cannot it be good in another school? And I don't, want to send my kid to school upset about having to wear a mask, which is unnecessary. He tells me they can't take mask breaks at the same time, which is kind of bizarre, and that he goes to the bathroom so he can take his mask off. That's just very sad. That's very sad. And I encourage him to take as many mask breaks as he needs. He can take it off whenever he wants to. And if anyone has a problem, then they can call his mom. So just something to think about. It's just really, really sad to have your child leave upset about a mask. It's not even anything that's important. And I know that he's not the only one that feels that way. So it's just not right.
Hi, I'm a mom of 4, and I'm coming to you from my mobile office because with 2 kids home doing my PCS every day, 2 parents trying to work from home, and 2 little kids, I don't get much quiet anymore. So my car is the place I go when I need some quiet. I have 4 kids, and I have a few points that I'd like to express to you about them. My 3rd grader and my 5th grader are doing my PCS. My 5th grader is doing great. My 3rd grader, not so much. He is really struggling with not having the face-to-face contact with his teacher. His grades have dropped. He's having trouble turning assignments in, and he needs to go back to school to fix these issues. He does not want to wear a mask. My 5th grader does not want to wear a mask. And as a parent, I don't want them to wear masks all day. I think asking our small children to cover their faces all day is not conducive to an education. I would really like some metrics for when the mask mandate will go away. What has to happen for our children to be able to go to school without masks on their faces? I would like this question to be answered, and I would like to have a definite, this is when they don't need masks anymore. My youngest child goes to preschool. Thankfully, he goes to a private preschool where they have realized that it's ridiculous to ask 3 and 4-year-olds to socially distance and to wear masks. So he's able to go to school and be a normal little kid, which we really appreciate. I also have a special needs 6-year-old. So I do want to say this for the special needs kids who can't talk for themselves and who can't make these arguments for themselves. My daughter has apraxia. Her brain and her mouth have trouble communicating with each other. She really depends on cues. She looks at people's faces to see what their mouths are doing so that she can learn to speak. Well, when you put a mask over everybody's face, all of a sudden she can't get those cues anymore. She also really depends upon seeing people's expressions and seeing how people react to things. And she's not able to get that. And none of these special needs kids are able to get that anymore. So as a mom, all we want is for our kids to be safe and to be happy and to be healthy. Our kids are not affected by COVID the way that older people are. The flu is actually more dangerous to kids than COVID is. And it's time for us to really think about it and realize that we never used to make them wear masks over their faces when there were illnesses going around to school. And I don't think that we need to continue to do that now. It's just time for some common sense.
Is it evidence-based for schools to mandate some of the social distancing for school children and wearing a facial mask during the school day in order to stop or limit the spread?
I don't think so. There are some things that make sense and doesn't have a bad impact. For example, if some of the lessons are done outdoors, being outdoors is good for many reasons. So that's never anything wrong with that. Making sure that the classrooms are clean is also a good idea for many reasons. And maybe it's a good idea to avoid the large school gatherings with the whole schools of hundreds of kids in the same room. So those are sort of very simple measures to take in addition to ensuring that children with symptoms are sent home. But to do more than that, I think there's no evidence that that would lower the risk to anybody.
My name is Courtney. I have 2 children in elementary school, 6 in 1st grade and 10 in 5th grade. Both of my girls are dealing with kind of separate issues as far as masks go, but 2 of my reasons for unmasking children. First is going to be the social emotional aspect. My 6-year-old in 1st grade started kindergarten as a very young 5. She turned 5 on August 1st and then started kindergarten a week or so afterwards. She is not already a strong reader, and then having her kindergarten year pretty much stolen from her because of COVID really didn't help with her progression of learning how to read efficiently and also her understanding. So she didn't do well with the MyPCS, so we decided to go back to in-person learning when school started. Despite the masks, I unfortunately just did not have the option. She doesn't have the focus in order to do MyPCS, so we went with in-person. She is struggling with being able to wear the masks. She is a fidgeter. She pulls it down, puts it back on. She shredded one of her masks by pulling a string and tearing it apart. I've had several of them come home wet because she puts them in her mouth, but she does complain that she's winding up having some headaches, but that doesn't have to do with social, that's more physical. It is causing her extreme distress. She comes home at the end of the day and is emotionally drained. She many days will cry and say, "Mommy, I hate wearing these." And I feel terrible because there's nothing that I can do currently other than continuing to fight day in and day out for her right to have that taken off of her face. My second point would be physical ailments, physical things that are inhibitors. So headaches. She is complaining of headaches. Additionally, my 10-year-old is now starting to, along with age, she is at the age where she's going to start getting acne, but she is getting a kind of a raised bump sort of rash that is not acne. It is a reaction to having these masks on, to the moisture being there, to having the constant CO2 levels that should not be on your face in an 8-hour period of time. So those are some of the things that I'm really dealing with and noticing, and I'm a religious washer of their masks. I do not let them wear dirty masks. I am trying to do everything in my ability to make sure to keep these things so that they are the most sanitary for them, but they're children. And it's unrealistic for us to expect that these children, for 8 hours a day, are going to keep their masks clean and worn properly. I believe that our children should be unmasked. There is a level of social emotional disconnect that's happening. They're not seeing people's smiling faces. I am hearing from both of my daughters that they are not allowed to take mask breaks at school anymore. The teachers, despite me emailing them and the principal multiple times at the beginning of the school year and to this day, when I'm told that, oh yes, they're providing them mask breaks, my girls are telling me that they're not, and my children are not liars. I'm inclined to believe that they are telling me the truth. I'm not getting an answer out of their teachers about it, so what am I supposed to think? All I know is my children come home and they're upset about wearing the masks. I hear other kids and how they react to them. I'm hearing other parents and their cries for help. So we're reaching out, looking for help. We want to unmask our children and end this madness. Thank you for your time.
My name is Maria Ochko-Kanat, and we recently moved to Pinellas County from Kansas City. Prior to moving, we had looked at various schools and determined that Elisa Nelson, the full-time gifted school in Pinellas County, was the best option for our very bright 8-year-old. We spent over $650 to do psych evals and get her IQ test completed. We submitted our paperwork and were accepted into Elisa Nelson. After COVID hit, we paid close attention to the policies and regulations that would be put into place, and ultimately we chose to not go with the free full-time gifted school where we've already invested over $600 due to the mask rules. We chose a private school, paid money out of our own funds that don't have this restriction on children, and the option is just that, it's optional. My child, for 8 hours a day, will not be masked. Young children like her age depend on facial expressions and being able to read those facial expressions when making logical decisions. Mandatory putting a piece of cloth over someone's face is also deemed as ineffective, as many data has now shown. And we will continue to not participate or provide funding to the schools and put a student in a seat if the mask mandate remains non-optional.
Hi, my name is Allison Otamendi. I have 2 high school students in Pinellas County. They're both doing my PCS online because I don't want them wearing masks all day, for the plain and simple fact that masks are medical devices, that which cannot be mandated on a population, especially without informed consent. So what that means is, like any medical procedure or medical device that's being prescribed as a therapy or a mitigation, in this case, you're supposed to be told the risks that are associated, and you're supposed to agree to accepting the risks in your assessment when you decide, am I going to accept this or not? None of us have been given that. We've merely been told that in order for our child to get their public school education, now they have to cover their faces all day. I'm wholeheartedly against this, and I'm wondering where the rest of the parents are that agree with me, and when are we going to stand up and say enough is enough? We know by now that since there is no standard for what you can cover your face with, it doesn't matter, they don't care if it's a surgical mask or if it's a cloth facial covering, which tells you right there, this is not about our health, this is about control. And that's it. And I'm going to keep it, I guess, kind of simple right there. Basically, at the end of the day, where there is risk, there must be choice. Our voices need to be heard as parents. Enough is enough. What is going to happen to our children years from now after the psychological effects that which are too soon to even measure at this point? Our kids are going to end up being scared of human interaction, scared of germs that we wouldn't be human without. And without getting into science, let's be very careful that we're not throwing that word around and just listening to others' interpretation of what that science is. Science is ever evolving. We need to remember that. At the end of the day, what's in your gut? What makes you feel that's healthy for your child? Do you think that it's healthy for your child to be going to school, covering their face, covering their breathing holes all day? Does that sound healthy to anybody? We need to stand up.
Hello, I wanted to give this discussion regarding masks and talk about some of the arguments that people have toward a mask and wanting you to wear one. Well, the first thing that I've heard is, well, do you wear a seatbelt? Well, of course I wear a seatbelt. A seatbelt makes a lot of sense. A mask doesn't. Why? It's very porous. The virus can actually get right through the mask, so it really makes no sense to wear one. Furthermore, with children, when they touch the mask, which they tend to do, it's actually infected the first time they touch it, because they'll touch their desk and they touch their mask, or it falls off, they put it right back on again. Also, people make the argument about, well, surgeons wear masks all day. Well, yes, but surgeons are in a sterile hospital environment, and they have their scrub nurse actually put their mask on them. They don't actually do it to make sure it's a sterile environment. A school is not a sterile environment, as we know. It is not a hospital setting, and you can't even, begin to compare the two. Also, we know, again, that children touch the mask, which is a big problem, and therefore contaminates it. Thank you.
Hi, I am a mom of 2 little boys in Palm Harbor, a 3rd grader and a 5th grader. You may ask why I'm wearing a sweatshirt in Palm Harbor. Well, I'm actually in Georgia right now. Why am I in Georgia during the school year? Because I'm homeschooling my boys. Why am I homeschooling my boys? Because of the mask mandate. I will not have my children sitting in a mask for 6 hours a day. I won't even have my children in a mask at all. We don't wear them for errands, for anything. Masks are meant for either sick individuals or individuals with compromised immune systems that don't have an immune system to protect them. All of the studies I have done, that I've looked at, which have been numerous, my oldest son, I should mention, has autism, so I am very much used to doing my medical research and choosing our medical path, which has always done well for us. So I've looked at all the studies. Masks are at best about 40% effective if you're wearing the medical grade masks. About 3% effective for a cloth. So really, there's no difference between kids not wearing a mask or wearing a cloth mask. And they're only meant to be worn, like I said, for sick people or people working with sick people. Healthy people wearing a mask, you're not looking at the potential risks to their immune system. Masks do trap bacteria because the bacteria particles are large enough to be trapped by the mask, unlike the virus particles that go through. So you're trapping bacteria right by the face, and then you're rebreathing in bacteria for possible mouth infections, bacterial throat infections, even bacterial lung infections. You're reducing oxygen levels, you're increasing carbon dioxide levels. Why would a healthy person do this? And that really, the common sense part of it to me says it's not healthy and there are going to be long-term repercussions of this. But without those studies and without knowing what those effects may be, the school board has basically elected to use our children as guinea pigs to see if it's safe, to see what happens. 3 children in China that they've reported have died wearing the masks during PE class. And I am still seeing at least several times a week, parents on different chat boards reporting that their child was either forced to wear a mask while outside running and playing for either PE or recess, or told to put the mask back on immediately after they were running before their breathing had slowed down. It's just not safe. You guys are using the kids as guinea pigs. I will definitely not have my children be a part of that. I'm disheartened and disappointed in the school district and the school board for taking this position. And until that changes, I will absolutely be homeschooling. And let me say, I pulled my kids 100%. So you're not getting our funding dollars at all, because there are a lot of good options out there. If I'm going to have my kids working virtually from home, there are programs that have been around for decades that are extremely successful, more successful than the idea of trying to have in-school teachers teach kids sitting in front of a computer for 6 hours. That's not what homeschool's about. So you won't be getting my children or my tax dollars until you get rid of the mandate. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kristen Mackey, and I'm the mother of 2 elementary school age children. I am also a licensed registered dental hygienist, and to obtain my license, I had to take an oath to treat my patients with morals, ethics, and integrity. Today, I am providing my input on the masks that are being forced to wear on our children in school. First, I'd like to say that most of my patients I've been seeing for about 15 years. One thing, our oral health has a lot to do with our systemic health. What happens in our mouth affects our entire body. So if our oral health is not in good shape, what is it doing to our body? Recently, I had a patient who I've been seeing for about 15 years, normally has immaculate oral hygiene, takes care of himself, drinks lots of water, very conscientious about his oral health. He came in, a lot of mouth ulcers, irritated gums, bleeding, sores on his lips. His response to me was, I'm not drinking enough water. I don't feel like removing my mask every time I'm thirsty because I know my hands are spraying germs to my mask. So drinking water to him, which used to be a priority, is not anymore. So if adults are doing this and affecting their oral health, what is it doing to our children? Our children in school are there to learn. They're not there to be reminded that their mask has to be pulled up. It's not above their nose. Children also touch things and then touch their face, touch their masks. They're wearing that same mask all day long. Another thing that masks do to me, I think, is disguise our children. They conceal their identity. Our children are there to learn, see facial expressions, interact with their teachers, their friends. If they're constantly adjusting their mask for that, imagine the germs they're taking from their hands and touching their face. I'm not for the mask. If you want to wear a mask, wear your mask. But enforcing it on our children is not fair. They're there, like I said, they're there to learn. They're not there to worry about if a mask is on. One thing I did do when I hand washed my kids' mask the other day was I did a before and after of what the water looked like prior to washing the mask and after. And right here is the before and there is the after. So clearly you can see how dirty the masks are. When people in the dental and medical field wear masks, they normally change them periodically or between each patient. Our kids aren't changing them at all day. They're breathing through them, touching them, spreading more germs, basically. So, like I said, I'm here to address my concerns with our children being forced to wear masks at school. It needs to stop. Thank you.
My name's David Zweig. I'm a journalist. I've been writing quite a bit about the pandemic, but in specific sense about children in schools and looking at the evidence and how that may go along with a lot of policies and also how the evidence also seems to diverge from a lot of policies that are in place. But that's pulling the lens back. That's brought me to kind of the larger discussion around the pandemic and different approaches. To start off, I want to thank the AIER for inviting me here and for organizing this terrific event, and Jeffrey for helping to put this together, and Martin Kuldorf for putting this together. So for those who don't know, we have 4 world-renowned experts in epidemiology and health policy with us today. Well, one of them is with us virtually, but 3 in the room. And what's interesting about these experts who are with us is that their views, at least by some of the public, are perceived to be in the minority about how the U.S. and a number of other countries should be approaching the pandemic, or at least in the sense of viral mitigation, and both the advantages and disadvantages of the different approaches. All 4 of them have talked critically about lockdowns and also critically about some other mainstream approaches. So I want to speak with the experts today about your views and also talk about, in sort of a more macro sense, why you think that you are either in the minority or at least the perceived minority, whether that's not actually the case. Maybe is it a sense that the public thinks you're in a minority view, but within the scientific community, it's not, but that sort of viewpoint isn't aired as much as it should be. I'm just going to give a little introduction for each person who's participating.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the stories of these Pinellas County parents. I would like to add just one more, my own. As I said in the beginning, I have 6 children. My youngest is in preschool, and my oldest is an IB high school student. I have withdrawn all of my children, except for my high school student, from Pinellas County Public Schools, and they now attend private school, Unmasked. I am both someone who has meticulously followed the pandemic data since early March and someone who has extensive knowledge in child development. My decision not to mask my children is strongly based in data from schools around the world, data about how COVID affects children, data about how children don't spread COVID, and a deep understanding of the physical, social, emotional, and educational needs of children. The scientists advising our state on the September 24th Governor's Roundtable agree with me, as do plenty of other high-level scientists. The Great Barrington Declaration was started on October 4th by infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists because, quote, "We have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies," end quote. The Great Barrington Declaration has been in the news media, so perhaps you have seen it mentioned. Please go to gbdeclaration.org for more information. These experts were very clear that there is 0 evidence that masking our children slows the spread of COVID or benefits us in any way. An intervention of this magnitude would need to be solidly evidence-based for me to accept it for my own children. Some children have become ill from being masked. Do you accept liability for this? Especially when their parents did not consent to the masking? Education is a constitutional right in the state of Florida. Requiring children as young as 4 and 5 years old to mask all day is not providing them a free and appropriate public education. I do not mask my children at school, but I don't want a solution only for my children, as I have found by placing them in private school. I want a solution for all children, because I know that the future of my children depends on the health of all children. Please unmask our children.